So the new Kirby game came out and it's super cute, but did you know it also revealed the final evolution for our favorite little duckling, Quaxly? I mean, what can I say? Oh, he actually shoots out tornadoes too. Water and flying type confirmed? That would actually kind of suck, because we already have so many water flying birds. What is up, everyone, y bienvenidos de vuelta a otro video de Pokémon Violeta y Scarletta. I think that's what they're called in Spanish. Pokémon Violet and Scarlet, and today we're going to be taking a look at some potential evolutions for the starter Pokémon Fuecoco, Sprigatito, and Quaxly. Now I'm going to clarify right at the start of the video, these are not official evolutions, it is just speculation. You can check out the links to all the artwork featured in this video down in the description, and again, a huge shout out to all of the artists, because without you guys, I would have no content. So thank you so much, and if you guys are excited, smash that like button for more Violet and Scarlet hype. And we're gonna get started with my favorite of this new starter trio, the spicy little crocodile Fuecoco. Before we jump into the fan art, I want to give my speculation on what Fuecoco will potentially evolve into, starting off with his design here definitely being a little fire crocodile with its name being Coco. It is very unlikely, in my opinion, that it's going to evolve into a snake, as some people speculate, because of the whole Chinese zodiac theory with the fire starter Pokemon. But even as it is right now without Fuecoco, I feel like some of these are a bit of a stretch. Like, is Cyndaquil really a rat and Charmander a dragon? I mean, it's a fire flying type. They could have gave it the dragon type and made it more obvious. The other starters I can definitely see fitting, but Cyndaquil and Charmander are a little bit of a stretch, and Fuecoco would be even more of a stretch because it would have to evolve into a snake or one of these other animals like a tiger. I do not see Fuecoco becoming a tiger, so unless Charizard is really a goat and not just the goat, then yeah, Fuecoco would most likely fit into the dragon part of the Chinese zodiac. But I honestly don't believe that's even a thing. It's probably just coincidence that a couple of those Pokemon lined up, and so Fuecoco can really evolve into anything. And that's finally going to kick off our fan art. First up, we've got Guggenheim98 on DeviantArt, who has this awesome rendition of Fuecoco evolving into a fire and ghost type. And this has been a pretty popular speculation because it looks like a little pepper, and of course ghost peppers are a thing in the real world. They're pretty damn spicy too. I had one the other day on stream.
Are you gonna puke?
No.
Oh, okay.
The pun of a ghost pepper evolving into a ghost type Pokemon would be pretty fitting, and this is an awesome design that Guggenheim has done for it here. Almost reminds me of Bowser from the Mario series and how he would like turn into dry Bowser, like the bony, fiery version of Bowser. It looks really awesome, and I could totally see them going with that whole ghost pepper play on words. Drake95 has also got a pretty awesome rendition of a fire ghost Caliente. I love the name on that one too, with the Spanish pun in there. Although I could also see this being a fire dragon type, which is my personal speculation on Fuecoco. I want to see it become a fire dragon, but fire ghost would also be pretty cool. Aside from the fact that they just had a fire ghost, it'd be a little lame to have two fire ghost starters back to back, but I could still see them pulling it off. But even with this artwork here, I feel like a fire dragon typing would still fit, and it just looks awesome how he made him a bit more of a chonky boy with the fire kind of spilling off of its tail there. Do you want to know something else on its inspiration? Check out my YouTube channel. Oh, I did not know Drake has a YouTube channel now, so definitely check him out, because this is a guy I featured in a couple of videos before and makes awesome Pokémon artwork. So let's see. I think this might be Brazilian, not Spanish actually, so I don't quite understand. Oh, this is the middle evolution. Dang, that looks really cool too. I love how the fire is spilling out of its mouth and like the tail, like I said. Overall, really awesome rendition by the Drake. Here is a similar concept that is actually a fire dragon type by Elite4, who's one of the artists that worked on Pokemon Xenoverse, I believe. Pretty similar design with the really big tail, making it look more like a spicy pepper, but I really love the way that the fire kind of comes out like ponytails from it. Is really oddly cute, but still menacing looking. Like I said, I would love if Fuecoco becomes a fire dragon type, but I imagine it being a bit different in design. Maybe closer to what Pokemachi has imagined here with the more Chinese-style dragon. I'm not really sure what's up with the rainbow mane, but I actually speculated that Fuecoco's little specks of hair might actually be like a volcano erupting, and so it having a fiery mane just looks super cool, and I could totally see it happening. Although I would guess that it's going to be a little more chonky. This does definitely make it look more snake-like, so it might fit more with the Chinese zodiac theory. And if you're into that sort of theory, then you're gonna love this artwork by Mirko Paganesi. Sorry if I butchered the name there, but the artwork is amazing. This rendition looks so badass with the fire coming off of its neck, making it look like a cobra's head. I don't know if that has a name, but yeah, even in the Metal Evolution, you can see it kind of forming there, but it just looks so cool with the fire mane. And the name, Fuerpiente and Scobraville, I love how that's a kind of reference to Scoville, which are like the units to measure how hot or spicy food is. I could definitely see something like this happening, and like I said, it would fit in with the Chinese zodiac theory, with this being like the snake on there, and Charizard would be the dragon, so there would still be room for both of them. And I believe this is actually a fire and poison type. That's definitely not Spanish, but I'm gonna guess Fuecoco is fire and then Veleno would be poison, because it looks kind of like a fire poison type to me. Bit of a different take on Salazzle, maybe like the male version of it. I love this artwork, and if this ended up happening, I would be totally down for Fuecoco still. Going back to the first artwork, I forgot to mention, but another hint that Fuecoco might actually become a fire ghost is the fact that its head is a different color than the rest of its body, almost showing like it's exposed and that's actually bone, like a skull, and that's why it would evolve into, you know, its skull fully being exposed here and on fire like Ghost Rider. But to wrap up Fuecoco, I've got a different take on its exposed head. Instead of being a skull, what if it's actually rock? And Fuecoco eventually evolves into a fire and rock type. Here we've got the middle evolution by Almalri Art. Meet Crocolava. I just love the names that people have come up for these, man. I could see all of these being true, like at least the names. And the evolution too, as the final form by Amalri here looks awesome and totally like a real final starter evolution. Has a little bit of Quilava flair to it, no pun intended, because, you know, it has the flames coming out of its back similar to Quilava, but this would be a fire and rock type, like I said, and the exposed head on Fuecoco would actually be like a rocky mask almost that becomes even bigger as it evolves and eventually takes over more of its body, becoming a fire and rock type Magmosaur. I was gonna say crocodile, but I guess it's more of a dinosaur. I mean, my theory was that it's like a volcano, and you can see it's got little puffy volcanoes on its shoulders there. I really like this artwork, and just the idea of Fuecoco becoming fire rock, I could totally see it happening. Next, we're moving on to the most controversial of the three Spanish starter Pokemon, and that is, of course, Sprigatito, the little weed kitty. And the reason I say it's controversial is because everyone is wondering if it's gonna stay on all fours or become a bipedal humanoid like so many other starter Pokemon have done in the last few generations. As you can see here by Omez the Memer, I really like this rendition of it staying on all fours and also having a more feminine look to it versus some of the other artwork that I've seen, and just the fact that its tail looks like a giant weed leaf, because yeah, that's its face. But speaking of the face, I also love how the mask, or I guess the design on Sprigatito's face, actually becomes more of a mask, but I don't see this being anything other than just a pure grass type Pokemon, and that's a bit boring, even though it's happened in the past. Like literally last generation, the starters stayed just fire, grass, and water, but we like to have fun out here, so we're gonna do some dual type speculation, or rather artwork of dual typed. Starting with Cranky Crawfish, I love that name, over on Instagram. We've got Bloomeow and Feli Nectar. I love those names too. Anyway, this is Grass and Fairy type, which is another one that I've seen a lot for Sprigatito. I think mainly because of its like cute looking pink eyes. People are speculating it would become a Grass and Fairy type. And although I don't really see this necessarily having too much fairy influence, I do love the design of it, and it's like more serious looking face. It almost reminds me of something out of the movie Jungle Book. Like, it just looks so cool, and I just again love that it did stay on all fours, because I don't want another Incineroar. I mean, I love Litten, but like there's only room for one fighting kitten. Here's another Grass and Fairy rendition by Subjectively5 on DeviantArt, who also has a YouTube channel you can check out where they showed off designing new starter evolutions for all three of them. Whoa, just look at that Fuecoco. Oh, another fire ghost, dude. That looks awesome. We're on Sprigatito though, so let's focus on Camuile and Kermal. I did not say that name right, but you get the pun. Meow, Maul, you know, it's all cat puns out here. I really like the design of this one though, again because it stays on all four, but also because they gave it almost like a dress on the back here. And overall, it just gives me more of that fairy look with the eyes and the little antenna coming out of it. It has a very ethereal look, which I guess fairy types kind of have that whimsical element to them. You can actually see on the YouTube video a little bit of backstory for it. A combination of sunlight and meat-based diet allows Kermal to grow rare herbs out of its fur. That is awesome. So you have that almost dress or skirt-like thing growing off of its back, but then also it can grow flowers, which definitely gives me more of that fairy-type vibe. And we've got one more quadrupedal kitten by rnow555 on Twitter. And I'm going to guess that this one would be a grass and poison type, which is another type I've seen speculated a lot because, again, the little eyes being kind of purplish pink. This rendition is committing to the purple with a big purple bulb as a tail, almost like a quillfish, or what's the evolution? Overquill back there. It reminds me of those little seeds that always stick onto your clothes when you walk through like a field of grass. Oh my god, those are huge. I've never seen them this big. Jeez. Oh, I didn't realize he actually did attach or specify the typings over here. Plant and poison or grass and poison type with poison touch and a signature move, poison mace, which I'm guessing is that big old tail just whacking you with it like a mace. I especially love the middle evolution here, which I guess is called Spilino, how it looks a little mischievous because cats can definitely be mischievous. I had to learn that the hard way when I had a cat growing up, and it would always hide in my keyboard tray, and right when I would stick my hands in there, yeah, it didn't end well. While I love all those artworks for Sprigatito and pray to the Poke gods that it stays on all four legs, there's another common trend that I've seen that Sprigatito might evolve into a bipedal cat instead, based off the legend of Puss in Boots, whom you might remember most from the Shrek movies, but is actually based on an Italian/French story, not Spanish, so the influence doesn't really make sense there. But, you know, Puss in Boots is a cool concept for a cat Pokemon, and I really love the artwork that people have done around it, starting with Royal Art here on Instagram. You can see a little bit more like Zoro, actually. Everybody knows Zoro, right? Not the one from One Piece, this guy. I especially love how in this artwork he gave a concept for where the sword would come out of, like it'd be hidden in its tail, which I could totally see because there's other Pokemon. In fact, starter Pokemon, Delphox, which has that wand it pulls out of who knows where. Rillaboom pulls out a whole drum set, so I could definitely see a cat at least pulling out a sword from its tail. And I'm not sure on the original artist for this rendition here. It's on Danboru. I think maybe this might be it. I'm honestly not sure how this website. Definitely more of a feminine take on the Puss in Boots kind of inspiration. Its facial expression definitely looks like an official Pokemon artwork. Like if this was announced tomorrow, I could totally believe this being the real final evolution for Sprigatito. And again, because it's been such a common trend that the Pokemon evolve into standing on two legs, like, yeah, this could definitely be a possibility. And if that was the case, I could totally see it becoming a grass and steel type, since it would have that sword to carry around. That could be like a steel sword, which definitely reminds me of Metalinx from Pokemon Uranium. Those that have seen my playthrough might remember the grass starter of that game evolves into a grass and steel type tiger, and it looks so awesome. There's actually a Mega Metalinx too, where its whole arm becomes a big metal scythe. Whether it becomes a Puss in Boots with a little metal sword or actually has metal limbs like Metalinx, I hope that Sprigatito becomes a grass and steel type, because that was my prediction in my original trailer analysis, so I want to be right. Or it could just become Onkazone. Who made this, dude? Why? Now moving on to everyone's favorite ugly duckling. I shouldn't call it ugly because it's actually not. It's pretty dang dapper and kind of cute. It's Quaxly has grown on me, okay? I like him now. But when it comes to his final evolution, I've seen another common trend among fan artists that it will become a matador, which is like the guys that move around the red flag for the bulls, you know? And Quaxly does have the hat to support it, so we're gonna start with this artwork by R. James the V on DeviantArt, where Quaxly becomes a super awesome looking matador here. You can see it holding its almost watery cape. I don't even know what to say, dude. This pose just looks amazing. It almost reminds me of something out of JoJo, the way it's holding it, like, you're approaching me, and then it just slaps you, like Will. I can't do a Will Smith reference, dude. Come on. I've seen quite a few other artists do this Matador-inspired rendition, but I'll feature one more here by Drake95 as a water and fighting Maquador steps into the ring. And I especially love how this one doesn't have just like a water cape, but it's literally water coming out of its wing. And judging by the last few starter evolutions having very unique inspirations, like Rillaboom being a drummer, Scorbunny being a soccer player, I could totally see Quaxly evolving into a Matador and like having that signature move. So basically Spiky Shield from Chestnut, but a water type version of it, where if you try to attack Maquador while it's waving its wing, then you get hurt back. If Quaxly's feeling a bit more risky though, then maybe he'll go for a bit more of an explorer slash conquistador inspired look. I don't know if they would really do a conquistador because they don't have the best publicity recently, but I really like this artwork at least by Axel Gallet Art on Instagram, where Quaxly evolves into a Spanish explorer with telescope and all. I don't know where it pulled that telescope out of, so I don't know if that would happen, but I like the rest of the design, especially its hat. I could totally see Quaxly's little floof becoming a full-on pirate captain's hat, and I just really like the inspiration for it being more of that like explorer slash pirate, because actually this next one by Ventus here on Twitter, definitely more of the pirate inspiration, I would say. This is almost like Blackbeard over here, or Blue Brim, which is actually what Quaxly's based off of. I think it's the blue-footed booby, so yeah, those feet would definitely stay that bright blue, I think, regardless. But here it's got the hat to match and the very, very sharp beak. It's literally like a sword for a beak, which I'm guessing would mean it's a water and steel type. And now I'm forgetting, did I predict Quaxly to be water and steel or water fighting? I think I definitely said Sprigatito's grass and steel, but now I'm starting to change my mind. Like, Quaxly as a water and steel final evolution would be really cool, although I guess we already have Empoleon, but I don't know, just seeing this concept, I really, really like it. And it's not the only one, because we've got Sezulv here on Reddit with Conquaxador. Again, I don't know if they would do the full Conquistador inspired look. I like the name though, with the shout out to Don Quixote there with the X in it too. But again, a water and steel type, except instead of the beak being steel, it actually has steel-like wings, which would also be pretty cool. And finally, there's Quaquistador, which looks almost as funny as that name, like Quaquistador, really? But again, water and steel type, and yeah, it has steel-like feathers, which is a concept we've seen with Corviknight. I almost forgot the name, but here it's taking it a step forward, having a full-on steel-feathered armor and sword to fight with. Definitely looks kind of like a pirate captain more than Conquistador, but I guess they were kind of similar. I wouldn't want to be conquered by a giant bird, but you know. Speaking of pirates though, let's switch it up to Fuecoco with this pirate-inspired final evolution for it. Again, fire and ghost type seems to be the most common one that I've seen for Fuecoco, probably because of that like bony skull that it's got going on, but here it's got more bony body parts with the claws and the chest exposed there. I actually really like this artwork though. I could see it totally being a real Pokemon one day. And by that I mean like Fuecoco evolving into this. I could definitely see it happening, but I would still like it to be Fire and Dragon, but obviously this one's like kind of dead, so Fire Ghost makes sense. Shout out to WTC Man for this awesome rendition. I love the pirate theme because, again, I feel like all the starter evolutions in recent generations have had a theme to them. So I could see one being a pirate, a matador, and for Sprigatito, we could have a flamenco dancer with this grass and dark final evolution by Drake here. We've got FLAMENCO. I really, really like the design of it because, again, it is very heavily Spanish influence with the flamenco dancer even appearing in the trailer. There's like a little painting of one. So I love the way the dress flows off of its back there and the poison tail with the spike coming out. I could actually see this more being a grass and poison than a grass and dark type. But to wrap things up, we've got one more flamenco inspired evolution by L Darkcore here. The prediction for Quaxly's final evolution as a water and fighting flamenco dancer. There's no name for it, but I really like the look of it. I don't know if the theme of flamenco fits Quaxly as much as Sprigatito in my opinion, but I guess being a flamingo and Quaxly being a bird does make a little bit of sense. It could still work as a matador too, with the you know, the dress, I don't know. I can definitely see Quaxly becoming a Matador after seeing all of this fan art, but I still really like this rendition here by El Dark Core, and also his rendition of Fuecoco, which is just like super terrifying with the skull fully exposed and magma boiling in the center of its core. As always, all of the artists have done an amazing job. I can only dream of doing something so good, but I at least want to try. I know I've said this before, but I do at least want to try to draw my own speculation on these at some point over on my Twitch channel, which you can follow in the description, twitch.tv/notmunchingorange. I will probably be doing some drawing streams in the near future, trying to draw what I think the final starters will look like. But spoilers, I'm probably going to make Quaxly a Matador just because I love that idea the most out of all the ones I saw. But also, Fuecoco being a ghost pepper, I feel is a very common thing, and I almost feel like it's bound to happen with the real one. Then again, in the past, when we have a certain expectation, Pokemon does the complete opposite. So I'm just not going to have any expectations and hope that they at least look cool and aren't all bipedal, even though most likely they're all gonna end up standing on two legs. Looking at you, Sprigatito.